Hi Archers! This video is kind of just a rant addressing issues and my thoughts on Archero's current state. I just want to say first that I've been playing Archero for more than a year now. I think I joined around the time it was released, so I'm speaking from a long-term player perspective. For players who are much newer to the game, you probably do not feel the same way that I do, and that's fair. For some of you, the game may be fresh and exciting to play, and that's cool. But as a long-term player, I'm really just going to be speaking how I honestly feel about the game, and I encourage you to share how you feel as well in the comments down below, good and bad. Criticism is very important as it can give insight to what could be wrong and how they could improve it. Please do not take this as me hating on the game. I have just been unhappy with the direction it's been going in. First, before I get into the bad things, I just want to point out the good things that Archero has done. My favorite release of theirs was the first time they introduced heroes. Furin was my most used hero at the time, and he was just so simple, yet so effective. Then they started listening to some of us in the community, even though it wasn't exactly what we wanted. I thought it to be the step in the right direction. Hero chapters was a great addition in my opinion. The ability rework was also amazing, and I'm glad they did that. They even nerfed some really hard chapters. Hero co-op was also fun, but in my opinion it still needed work. But still, it was great to be able to play with someone anyway. I'm sure there's some more things that I can't remember, but these are the things that stood out to me and I've enjoyed them. Now let's talk about the issues. I want to preface this by saying I have no idea how well Archero is doing now or anything like that. They did release this ad recently that I found on Reddit from user I'm the Real One. They literally bought ad space for this, for Meowji crying, begging players to come back. This is so strange. I don't think I've seen a game as big as Archero do something like this. This to me seems like they have been losing players, but I do not know how much. If there are any more issues that I haven't outlined here, feel free to add them down below or add your thoughts to the ones I've listed. I don't know if Archero keeps up with what the community does, but if they do and they see this, it could really help them. Number 1, heroes. Heroes are a great addition to the game. They're fantastic, and the first set of heroes they released were great. Helix and Meowji were 2 heroes that became really game-changing for a lot of free-to-play players, and all was good. Premium heroes were awesome, but you could still do a lot with the free heroes they gave you. Then they released Ayana and Ophelia. Ayana is a gem hero and Ophelia is a premium hero. Now I just want to say that Archero has always had really vague descriptions for their abilities and heroes. It was annoying but not much of an issue. Sometimes I had fun figuring out what a hero does, and then it started to get obnoxious because they began making heroes more and more complicated without telling us what they do. Ayana and Ophelia being 2 of them. Ayana's description was okay, attacks confuse enemies, slowing them and causing extra damage. Also has a chance to summon a portal. However, in game, she actually gains damage by increasing her level in the run. What information I found really important here is that Ayana is actually not at her strongest until around mid-game. Ophelia was more of the final straw for me. She cost me 15 Australian dollars. I also think heroes are just way too expensive in Archero in my opinion. I bought her so I could do some testing on her. Her description is chance to suck and absorb enemy's soul, increasing own strength. It's really, really vague. I really wish they properly introduced heroes and outlined what they do. I always get comments on my channel asking me to research Ophelia because they have no idea what she does and they do not know if she's worth the money. I don't mind helping players look into this, but in my opinion, it's sad that Archero devs have made it this way in the first place, where players have to look at other sources to find out what a hero they're selling does. Number 2, stats. Similar to the heroes issue, there needs to be more information about the stats in the game. Again, heavily reliant on players in the community to find out themselves. I've been playing games for a long time with most information available directly from the game, but for some reason, Archero does not like to be transparent about their numbers or stats. I found this to be disappointing, especially with the ability rework update. Out of all the updates, I believe that was the most important update to be specific about the ability changes and why they changed them. I had to test every single ability that they reworked on just to find out what they do. I also think it's important to have player stats as well. Instead of only your health and damage, there should be your crit chance, your dodge chance, and more. A lot of the items in the game give you different stats like attack speed and such, but there is no way to see all of it on one page. A while ago, Reddit user TryHardCompletionist calculated how dodge actually works, and it was a ton to take in. He found that stacking dodge was not as straightforward, and this could have been avoided if Archero was just transparent about how dodge worked. Number 3, farming and item pool. Archero is super grindy, and honestly, I believe it's meant to be a grindy game. Most mobile games are pretty grindy, but the problem I have is that it's very grindy and it's not rewarding. There needs to be a balance between all the farming you're doing and the rewards you get. Archero has been adding a lot of new items into the pool, and a lot of players try to farm the strongest weapon or the weapon they want, but when Archero keeps adding more, it makes it harder, and sometimes players have to start from scratch because now they want the newest weapon that was released. I find this very unrewarding, especially since you don't really get much for dismantling the things you found. Archero keeps adding more and more items that it's getting extremely hard to farm for the things that we want, and on top of that, the item drop rate seems to all be different. They just keep releasing new things without improving the items that players rarely use. So just more useless items in the pool, making it harder to get the items that are deemed worth it. If they could just make all items useful in some way, it would be much more rewarding. My solution or my suggestion is to make chapters drop specific items. So for example, maybe chapter 1 drops tornadoes, serpent rings, wolf rings, etc. And maybe chapter 10 drops phantom cloak, agile locket, and so forth. There was another game that did it this way, I cannot remember the name of it, but I liked this setting a lot better. Now players can feel like they're using their time better and not quit because it was just so unrewarding and grindy. I also think there are just way too many things to farm right now. Before it used to just be gold and items, now it's gold, sapphires, evolution cookies, runes, shards, and soul stones. There are just way too many currencies and it's just not beginner friendly at all. Archero just keeps adding new things to farm without improving on how to farm the things that we already have. I don't find this to be a feature for players, but more in a way to make more money off players, by frustrating players so much that they may resort to buying chests to get materials they need. There are just way too many things to use gold on and not enough ways to farm gold. The talent system is another thing that uses gold and in my opinion uses way too much still for what you get. There just seems to be many features that uses gold like upgrading items, runes, leveling up heroes, and the talent system. Players have been complaining about the item drop rates as well. I personally have not been farming for anything at the moment, so I cannot speak on this with my experience. But Archero devs, if you're watching this, they ask you to improve the drop rates, please. Number 4, content. This is so strange to say because usually content is a good thing. However, in this case, it's too much of bad content. I think there is too much content in the game that it's just way too confusing. When they added heroes and sapphires, it was simple enough. But as I said earlier, we have 6 different currencies in the game excluding gems. And the most annoying thing of all is that the game doesn't really tell you how to use them, where to use them, and what they're for. Runes is something that drops in the game, however the runes tab is hard to unlock for a lot of players. Some players spend so much on the talent system to just never have it land on the runes tab. They keep adding new features with new currencies without telling players how to use them. I get a lot of players coming into my comments asking how to use these items or currencies because Archero fails to put a simple guide for each material. And also, runes should be unlocked automatically, not through talents. There are also some features that I don't like at the Battle Pass system. I like the old one better than the new one, honestly. The new one seems more pay to win because now to get XP for it, you have to finish the purchase one item thing or something like that. I haven't really grinded for the Battle Pass, but if you can get everything for free as a free-to-play player, please let me know in the comments down below. Just from the first look of it, I didn't really like how it worked. With the whole shards thing, yes, you can get a premium hero out of it, but I believe they made the rates purposely low for the shards you need, so you're more likely to get Archero or a cheaper hero instead. They made a chest for these which cost 200 gems, so again, it seems like they're making more money out of it. Maybe there are a few players that are lucky enough to get the shards to buy a premium hero purely without spending anything, however, I haven't heard or seen anyone achieving that yet. This is just my assumption. I think the whole shard system is a little whack. Archero tends to just keep releasing content without fixing existing features. Instead of improving the game, they find ways to make more money off the game. Right now, I'm heavily invested into a game called Smite, and I've just been playing Spellbreak for a while as well. The devs of these two games are very transparent with what they do. They release their notes, why they did something, why it's good, and what helped them come to this decision. Archero just adds things and changes things without telling us at all, but I'll get more into that later. Number 5, co-op. Speaking about improvements, co-op in my opinion needs more improvements. It's great that they listened to us and it was one of the most exciting features for many. Another Archero style game who did it first did a lot better. They actually made their co-op into progressive gameplay, so you finish chapters together, but with Archero's co-op you just do the same level over and over and over again, and some have said it's gotten quite a bit boring. Some players also said it doesn't feel that rewarding either. They kind of just added the feature and never touched it again. A lot of players have been requesting matchmaking to random players because right now players have to look into Discord or Reddit to find other players, which in my opinion is really cheap. This has been a long-term request and I find it strange that they've never expanded on the potential of co-op. A lot of players always wanted a way to add friends and such as well. Take this with a grain of salt because I know this was one of the most requested features, which was matchmaking. I do think that they just don't want to put money into player experience. Hence the increase of content that we didn't ask for. Number 6, events. Some of the events they've added have been really cool, but some are also just re-added events, slightly changed or just named differently. Events, again, is another way to make money, especially since sometimes the item events doesn't give items at all. Some of the events cost 10 to 15 energy, and then if you want another attempt on the events, some of them cost 100 gems. But when you pay the 100 gems, you also have to use the energy. If you're buying a second attempt on the event, Archero should make it that it does not cost energy if you're using gems. This really bugged me as I had to make videos about the events before, but I had to pay 100 gems for the second attempt and then another 100 gems for energy. So 200 gems in total just to play the event one more time. I find it ridiculous. Number 7, chest confirmation. This one is small, but it has happened to a lot of players, including myself. They need to add a confirmation screen when you go into the item shop. I've accidentally bought chests that I do not want when just scrolling through the store. Archero instantly takes your gems away when you do, instead of having a pop-up ask you if you want to purchase this or not. I find it a bit tedious. Lastly, communication. We are kept in the dark a lot for the decisions. As I said earlier, the games I currently play, the devs are great. They communicate and let us know what they do and why they do the things they do. They also have included stats for all their games, as well as making it easier for players to find information they need. Archero recently decided to nerf one of our free gem heroes, Ayana, who is pretty strong. A lot of players purchased her, and then I think less or a little more than a month later, they nerfed her so hard. They weren't planning to tell us, they just did it. It felt like a huge scam and has broken trust with some of the players. They did revert this nerf after a lot of player backlash. They figured this could actually be damaging for them. When they did nerf, no apology or anything. They just said it was a bug and that was the end of that. But in my opinion, they were too scared to admit that it was their mistake. The nerfs were way too specific for it to be a bug, and I'm just sad they weren't transparent about their mistake and apologizing for it instead of blaming it as a bug. They don't seem to read the Reddit or Facebook. In my opinion, companies who care about their player base will watch their community and take in feedback. But there have just been so many requests and improvements with no reply whatsoever. They do release surveys after major updates, but you can't actually type anything in those surveys. They just ask you if you were satisfied or unsatisfied, but that doesn't really tell you much and doesn't really give you room to say what could be improved. So the only things they see is I was unsatisfied or I was satisfied, but they don't know why. They have listened to us, giving us a way to dismantle things we don't want, but the value of it is pretty bad. A lot of players have expressed they're not happy with this, but they haven't made an effort to improve the value of it even just a little bit. A lot of the players have requested a way to trade items or something similar like that because we just have so many items we cannot use and maybe other players may want it. But that is pretty much all I have for now. For those who commented on my YouTube community post sharing what issues you had, thank you so much for writing it out. I read most of them and it's frustrating, but I'm really hoping Archero decides to put more focus on the players and less focus on the money. As what it means for me, I'll still be making Archero content, just probably less of it because there isn't much to make right now. The content that's being released hasn't exactly been fulfilling, but I will keep you up to date on things I find about Archero. I just really hope they start releasing more quality content. That is all for today's video. Subscribe and click the bell for more Archero videos. Like the video if you found this interesting, comment down below for your thoughts, and I hope to see you again for the next one. Bye!